People are speaking out against new plans to bring new development into Florida state parks, including one in our area.
This is Floridians fighting for Florida.
In the DEP, a proposal to bring golf, pickleball, hotels, and more to 9 state parks across the Sunshine State.
And that includes Anastasia State Park in St. Augustine, with plans calling for a 350-room lodge, disc golf, and pickleball court.
Why is this coming now, and why wasn't anybody informed on it?
St. Augustine Mayor Dylan Rumrell says he found out about what's being called the Great Outdoors Initiative earlier this week.
This is Floridians fighting for Florida. We have very limited space, as you know, with development and the rights that developments have. We got to protect what's left. And the state, when they purchased this property, it was never intended to be a 350-room hotel, pickleball courts, disc golf.
Add him to a growing list of frustrated public officials, like Congressman Matt Gaetz, who posted this on X, saying he is opposed to the Department of Environmental Protection making state parks into golf courses.
They're known as beverage cart girls, attractive young women driving carts around high-end golf courses, serving drinks to the guys.
Another day, another bev cart shift.
It can be very lucrative.
A group just tipped me $70.
Today went really, really well.
But is there also a seedy side?
This man goes, "What kind of underwear do you have on?"
Cart girls are taking to TikTok, sharing stories of harassment and unwanted touching.
In the process of making a comment about my butt, he proceeds to try to grab it.
Peyton Stover knows what they're talking about. Says she endured sexual assaults and harassment for the 2 years she worked at this club, including receiving graphic text messages and lewd videos. Peyton is now suing the country club for $15 million and has this message for all those TikTok beverage cart girls.
I would not advise any woman to do this job.
To maintain all that green grass, our environment pays a heavy price. Golf courses use an unbelievable amount of chemical fertilizers. They apply these fertilizers with spreaders, and every time it rains, these chemicals get washed into their ponds. This is the only way to get that nice green look that everyone expects a golf course to look like. Golf courses also spray lots of herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides. Carts go out and spray the grass with all kinds of chemicals. This is happening all over Florida every single day. They even spray when golfers are playing on the course. If you golf, I am sure you have seen one of these carts spraying at your local course. The combination of all these pesticides and fertilizers going into the ponds creates another problem, and that is algae blooms. So golf courses have to spray algicides to control this algae. I believe golf courses are one of the most toxic places that you could live, and if you are unfortunate enough to live on one, you are basically paying a lot of money to someone else to poison you.
Went onto the golf course with a shotgun and killed 2 protected birds.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. It's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism true crime deep dive YouTube video topic. Today I want to talk about the topic of pure evil, the golf/golfing sports, industry files, deep dive, capitalism, classism, pollution, true crime, capitalist pigs, biodiversity loss, deforestation, and much more. So let's get started in this YouTube video topic. But before we get started, all my YouTube videos related to this topic right now will be on the screen right now if you'd like to check them out. So let's get started into this YouTube video deep dive, anti-capitalism, true crime deep dive topic. At the start of the 20th century, golf shifted from a pre-modern folk game played in parkland links to a modern sport. These new golf courses were hewn from vast swatches of natural landscape and embodied the Enlightenment era's view of man dominating nature and has become a capitalist pig country club rich sport. Although some golf has become increasingly popular over the 40 years, it has come under severe criticism for its ecological impact overall. For example, the golf industry is accused of destroying large numbers of natural habitats and areas through the construction of golf courses to begin. The truth is that golf courses are a nightmare for the environment and biodiversity as a whole, often clearing forests and replacing them with imported turf, resulting in massive deforestation and a decrease in biodiversity and wildlife. This destruction is especially problematic because it contributes to fragmentation and loss of wildlife habitat, which are the two main causes of biodiversity depletion. For example, the golf course for the 2016 Rio Olympics was built within the Marapendi Environmental Protection area, which was a coastal habitat for sandbank native vegetation and animal life, including endangered species. The report also described how the government of Brazil misled the public on the environmental impact, cherry-picking pictures that showed only a fraction of the true damage. Furthermore, the grass imported for the fairway in Brazil was not natural to the ecosystem. In addition, golf course maintenance requires regular mowing and significant use of agrochemicals. These products, particularly fertilizers and pesticides, are likely to contaminate the air, soil, surface water, and groundwater. Ultimately, this contamination creates areas that are unfavorable for biodiversity. In addition, there is a strong pressure on water resources as a whole, particularly from the tourism sector, and we all know how rare and endangered fresh water source is on this earth we live on. U.S. golf courses on average use around 2.08 billion gallons of water per day, with California alone having more than 1,000 golf courses and facing a severe water drought crisis. It is simply irresponsible to divert such a precious resource to the fantasies of such a small number of rich people, with less than 10% of Americans playing golf, according to the New York Times. There are 16,000 golf courses in the United States alone. Construction of these golf courses can cause severe soil erosion too. As soil, rock, and dissolved minerals are transported, sediment loads can run off and pollute surrounding bodies of water. Construction of the paradisal Baker's Bay golf course in the Bahamas has led to sediment being deposited on a nearby coral reef. This damaged vital fish nurseries, native mangrove forests, and islands fishing trade. A cocktail of fungicides, herbicides, and insecticides presents a worst-case scenario for biodiversity, and this can be seen in wildlife such as in alligators or in birds or other animals. Carried by wind, excess pesticide may hurt more than just intended targets. 700 Atlantic brant geese, a quarter of the New York State population, were killed in 1984 after exposure to fertilizers from a golf course. Data in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service showed that Dairy Creek Golf Course has intentionally killed more than 1,000 of the small black duck-like birds over the past 3 years, making it one of the most deadly golf courses for birds in the country. Those golf courses, mostly in California, have killed nearly 4,000 birds from 2011 through 2013, according to the data from the Fish and Wildlife Service. In all, more than 30,000 birds, most of them coots and Canadian geese, but a handful of double-crested cormorants were killed too on golf courses during that time. But the data shows that many golf courses rely on lethal methods year after year. In addition, some biologists say that killing doesn't accomplish anything because more birds will rush in and occupy real estate full of big open spaces and ponds. That's perfect for birds. When we, human beings, modify the landscape in a major way by constructing a golf course, we are influencing the diet of these large predators, said Adam Rosenblatt, an assistant professor of biology at the University of North Florida. But for the food on the greens has changed the diets of some of the alligator reptiles. from seafood to insects. Rosenblatt led a study on this topic recently in Ecologically and Evolution that brought him and his colleagues to Jekyll Island in southeastern Georgia, a resort island with 4 golf courses and more than 100 resident alligators living on them. In 2019, the team captured 25 juvenile alligators, and in 2020, they caught 18 and did tests on them, finding that the researchers found that the gators have eaten a few more strange food items. They found French fries and bits of a hamburger or cheeseburger bun and pickles included in one gator. Someone either forgot their leftovers on the ground or decided to throw them in a nearby body of water. Meanwhile, the golf course gators' diets include a much heavier portion of anthropods, mostly beetles, and giant water bugs, with some insects and spiders. The golf courses may be changing the way the water flows, which could reduce the number of crabs. At the same time, golf courses are treated with toxic pesticides and chemicals, which could be reducing crab populations and numbers on the greens. Do alligators on golf courses bioaccumulate pesticides in their body that target insects? In fact, one study showed and examined chemical contaminant loads in alligators across South Carolina and Florida and found that alligators captured on or near golf courses on Kauai Island, South Carolina, had the second highest contaminant loads of all the sampled populations. These pesticides can seep into the soil, where they damage microorganisms and degrade soil quality and cause soil erosion. These fertilizers sometimes bleed into our water sources, consequently triggering algae blooms and the creation of underwater dead zones. Leakage from golf courses wreaked havoc on South Carolina's ponds, streams, and lakes in 2003. Agrochemicals are not the only problem posed by golf to aquatic marine ecosystems. At California's famous Pebble Beach course, errant shots have been dumped between 1 and 5 million golf balls into the surrounding Pacific Ocean over time. These balls are degrading and releasing microplastics into the local environment, which is a haven for seals and otters, and we all know how bad plastic pollution and overall microplastic pollution is caused by, the fossil fuel oil industry. Anyone on the golf courses or nearby is at risk. People living near a golf course may be affected by sprays or dust blown on them from the golf course onto their property and into their homes. Finally, pesticide applied to turf may run off into the surface waters or leak down into the groundwater, which then can pose and expose people to contaminated, toxic drinking water sources. Golf courses also waste an enormous amount of land worldwide, and in the United States alone, they take up about 2 million acres of land. That's more than the state of Delaware and more than 200 times the land area of New Trier. California alone has over 137,000 acres of golf courses. That's enough land for more than 20 million units of medium-density housing, 5 times what is needed to solve California's current housing crisis. Ron DeSantis, the capless pig politician's Great Outdoors Initiative. Local residents in Florida, in the state of Florida right now, as we speak, as I'm making this video, are trying to fight off golf courses in Johanathan-Dickinson State Park. Martin County leaders, residents, and environmental activists are scrambling to halt the development of Johanathan-Dickinson State Park, which would include clearing large amounts of land and swaths of native shrub habitat to build 3 giant golf courses. The Protect Johanathan-Dickinson State Park Facebook group mobilized over 100 people who demonstrated at the park Wednesday with dozens of cars clogging the roads to attend. The group has gained over 25,000 followers since it was created Monday by Jessica Nanmath, a former environmental advocacy committee member. This isn't the first time land in the Jonathan Dickinson has been eyed for a golf course. In 2011, a bill would have been allowed golfer and golf course designer Jack Nolis to build courses in state parks as part of the then government Rick Scott's incentive to boost tourism. 3 years of fierce opposition by conservationists seem to have unalived the plan. Environmentalists point to the development's potential damage to natural waterways, not only by depleting the freshwater supply to maintain the golf courses, but also by polluting the Lottauhatchee River with fertilizer and pesticide runoff. Runoff for the proposed golf courses would likely enter the Indian River Lagoon, with potential impacts on our waterways and crucial species, including seagrasses and oysters, endangering the fragile coral ecosystems we are fighting to protect. The Florida Oceanography Society wrote in a statement released on Thursday, the park's scrubland is also crucial to native habitat for endemic and endangered wildlife species such as the Florida scrub jay and the gopher tortoise, said Hugh, who has led scrub jay educational walks through the parks for years. He fears the loss of habitat would destabilize the ecosystem. Abolish golf. According to new research, the golf courses of London occupy enough space to house hundreds of thousands of people. It's time that land was put for a better use. New research suggests that there is enough space in London's publicly owned golf courses to house 300,000 people. That number would go up considerably if we were to include the privately owned golf courses in the capital as well, too, which make up more than half. Over a quarter of Europe's golf courses are situated in the United Kingdom. More than 1 in 20 of them are in London, a city in which 8.3% of households are overcrowded. Given that most golf courses rule that only 4 players can occupy a hole at any one given time, Curtis calculates that the average density of London's golf courses to be 0.63 people per acre. Golf has the long-standing association with a conservative politics, literally predicted on exclusion. In the United States, particularly golfing institutions and sports have been caricatured for decades for their historical ties to a kind of urban racism and upper-class snobbery. The sport is still dominated by the rich, white, middle-aged, upper-class, and the male, and worldwide it remains a medium throughout. Those with white, middle-aged, and upper or middle class reaffirm their mutual interests. Curtis' study acknowledges that the majority of London's golf courses are on the capital's outskirts, and the prologues that face the most intense crowding, like Tower Hamilton's and Insulton, lie closer to the city center. If we want to give people living space without removing them entirely from their local communities, we should probably start with the 22,000 homes, including many luxury apartments that even prior to the pandemic stood permanently empty, then move on to making the rest of them affordable and building council houses, and also abolishing the landlords as well too. Because landlords are the parasites of society, and landlords are also the scum of societies. There's a reason why China did what they did to the landlords. The obvious response to this is that golf courses do not provide or protect green space. They cut into it, turning it into a luxury commodity to be enjoyed by the small proportion of the population able to afford a membership costing, on average, just under $1,000 per annum. Golf is single-handedly the most elitist and exclusive game in the industry. It also happens to be terrible for the environment once again, and dominated by billionaires and millionaires of the world. The game itself does little to make up for its shortcomings. The Royal and Ancient Golf Club in St. Andrews is one of the most prestigious courses in the world, the self-proclaimed spiritual home of golf. Only admitted its first female member in 2014 after 260 years of strict male-only membership. Of the 250 professional players on the PGA Tour, 4 of them are black. Only 6% of all NCAA golf athletes are black, Latino, or indigenous. According to a 2019 New York Times article, some clubs in the United States have admitted their first black members in just the past few years. And while Tiger Woods, a person of color, remains the best professional golfer in the world, that does not suddenly make golf the poster child for diversity. And while there are certainly many famous people of color who enjoy playing golf as an activity, such as Barack Obama, who's a war criminal, an imperialist, or Michael Jordan, etc., that does not excuse the classism that golf exhibits, because even with their sudden acceptance of women and minorities, golf is far from being accessible or inclusive. Sam Jefferson, a freshman at UVM and a fellow cynic opinion columnist, says, "I find golf etiquette to be very white and elitist. You have to dress a certain way in an expensive uniform at a lot of clubs, with tucked-in buttoned shirts, a belt, golf shoes, and more. Most beginning club sets cost hundreds of dollars, and then you have to buy the golf balls and the golf equipment as well too. In a given day, only a few hundred people might use a golf course, 18 holes, no more than 4 players at a time per hole, all cycling through the course during daylight hours, plus practice areas like driving range or putting green. Some elite courses cost hundreds of dollars to play. Others, around 25% of American courses, aren't even open to the public in the first place." The February issue of National Geographic has an amazing article on water management in the western United States. The article includes a photograph of a golf course, particularly placed in the Mojave Desert. The caption reads, "Golf courses in a nearby southern Nevada still use 8% of the region's water." Discovery Land Company, which owns the Bakers Bay Golf and Ocean Club in Great Gunna Cay, created 5 desert golf resorts, all encapsulate that cookie-cutter Taco Bell mega mansion look in Arizona. Few things make me angrier than poorly purposed land. Land, for instance, that could be used for affordable housing, a community farm, a community garden, a public park, or even a natural habitat for wildlife conservation purposes, but instead it has been converted into a massive board game that functions more as a status symbol than a form of entertainment. Here we are on a beautiful planet full of rich biodiversity and beautiful ecosystems that have been torn down, ecocide, and replaced with 40,000 grass wastelands. The game that exploded in popularity as a symbol of middle-class success now symbolizes waste, access, and inequality. Golf is quite literally a waste of space. People are homeless and hungry in the same cities where these privileged capitalist pigs whack their little balls across the land that could house and feed thousands. Overall, the game of golf is a game of lying, cheating, blaming, and gambling. At its worst, the culture of golf courses perpetuates misogyny, sexism, racism, exploitation of labor, including undocumented labor, and unchecked capitalist pig privilege. Donald Trump is one example of this. The dark side of golf culture helps to unlock Trump's worldview and behavior. Consider, for instance, that he used the phrase locker room banter in his official statement that tried to explain away his foul behavior recorded in a leaked Access Hollywood tape obtained by the Washington Post. The truth is, Donald Trump does go to locker rooms, and that privileged, misogynistic old men do really talk like this in the locker rooms at private golf courses. In his official statement, Donald Trump even tried to normalize his misogyny by reference to golf. Bill Clinton has said far worse to me on the golf course, not even close. Male golfers at private clubs are misogynistic in the casual and structural ways. The acronym Gentlemen Only, Ladies Forbidden is so widely disseminated as an etymology for the word golf that needs to be refuted in the first line of the prominent golf history site. Many private clubs have divided their restaurants and courses by gender, with men eating in the men's grills while women play on Ladies' Day, which is often compressed into a midweek morning. While men are playing at the course, a woman is often driving around selling drinks and food. She is called the cart girl, even though she is a grown woman. She is almost always a very attractive, and while alone, must frequently deal with unwanted sexual advances or even cash propositions for sexual favors. Last year, a journalist went undercover for Golf Digest to record the experiences of cart girls. One who had formerly worked in human resources at a large corporation said, "It was a total culture shock. Every single day, golfers were saying things to me that would get them fired in a professional setting. The hidden recording device captured a toxic masculinity fueled by crippling insecurity. I drove up to a group one time," one cart girl recalled, "and the guy holds out a $50 bill and says, 'Let's see your chest.'" Private golf courses also are frequently racist. Augusta National Golf Club, which hosts the Masters, is the most notorious example of racial discrimination, thanks to its exclusion of black people from the competition in its Masters tournament until the mid-1970s. But really, walking into any private course can feel like stepping into a southern plantation. In 1997, professional golfer Fuzzy Zoeller was asked about a new phenomenon, Tiger Woods winning the Masters. After calling the 21-year-old Woods a little boy, he dismissively said Woods, who, as the winner, would choose next year's menu, should not serve fried chicken or collard greens or whatever the hell they serve. Trump Golf Club reportedly made undocumented employees work overtime for no pay. New York State Attorney General is investigating new allegations that at least one of President Donald Trump's many golf clubs hired undocumented immigrants and made some of them work overtime without extra pay. The Washington Post reports New York Attorney General Lydia James' office has interviewed more than 24 former employees amid allegations that workers were routinely underpaid in wage theft at the Trump National Golf Club, Westchester and Brancliff Manor, New York. Jose Gabriel, the former head waiter at Club Restaurant, told the Post that managers regularly told workers to do side work after the shifts were done, and he was often forced to stay until past midnight, even though he wasn't paid extra for those hours. 6 other former Trump workers told the outlet they felt systematically cheated because they were undocumented immigrants. Some of the workers said they were denied promotions, time off, and health insurance, even though those benefits were offered to employees with legal status. A former manager described a similar situation. 2 of the workers said they were required to do side work for which they received no pay. 2 other workers said they were forced to work 60-hour weeks without receiving any overtime pay.